earnest concern. The only course open to him is the second one. He should be glad to sacrifice his life for the sake of truth and reality, but would never tolerate that by leading a life of ease and comfort, he should pressurely distort and misrepresent the truth. He would go for this. And all these components of the salvation, they are indispensable. They are inseparable. If faith has in reality penetrated a person's heart, then these four results are the result. It should reflect. It should reflect what? It will necessarily result in the performance of righteous deeds. If someone has faith, its reasoning, its logical sequence is that according to his faith, he would do the actions. And if the habit of doing righteous deeds, if a person continuously on a regular basis is habitual of doing these kind of things, then he has become one's second nature. And then its natural outcome would be to convey this message to others. It's illogical. Then he should try to convey this to other people. And if the preaching of truth is done with the real sincerity and dedication and fervor, it will necessarily lead to the stage of exaltation with patience and endurance. When he would steadfast to face the difficulties come across on this way. And this is the path of salvation. Just one more time as a reminder. Just like when you on a journey, okay, it shows some kind of a milestone. Okay, you have covered 60 kilometers, you have covered 100 kilometers, you have covered 120 kilometers. Okay, now you have covered 200 kilometers. So these actually are the milestones of your journey, of your success and path of your salvation. Once again as a reminder, Al-Iman, faith, Amal Saleh, righteous deeds, and Tawasib al-Haq, exhortation or conveying this mutual message to truth, and then exhortation to the patience of this message that you have. And what we conclude from this whole discussion, that can we find an example that we can see as a role model so that we can follow. So we see this all 4 points in the life of the Prophet Muhammad, that how he fulfilled these 4 components of the belief of the faith. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spent 23 years, means 13 years preaching in the holy city of Mecca, and after the migration, when the non-believers in the city of Mecca tortured him physically and verbally, both ways, persecution. Physical persecution and also the verbal persecution. And then by the order of God, he migrated on a state when it was impossible to live there. Then on the commands of the God, then he with his followers, means with his companions, he migrated from the holy city of Mecca to Medina. Then altogether this 23 years, 13 years in Mecca and 10 years in Medina, then he spent in the untiring effort and struggle of preaching the truth and declaring this faith, promulgating the grandeur and the glory of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-wise, the all-knowing, the supreme. So this, what we have just learned is for, you can see these examples, noble examples in the life of the Holy Prophet. He bravely tolerated all those difficulties and trouble for this purpose, to make dominant the religion of God in the Arabian Peninsula, courteously suffered all afflictions and faced all the persecution and oppressions of his opponents. And some of the examples just I give you very quickly, and now we are going to. This is a place actually is called Sheb Abi Talib, in the canon of the Bani Hashim. When those non-believers that were living in the holy city of Mecca, when the Holy Prophet conveyed the message of the oneness of God, that there is no God but Allah, Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. O people, you say there is no God but Allah and you will be successful, you will be victorious. And those people, then they put, hindrance, they create hindrance in this path, in this way, and then they say some kind of calling by bad names, that is called verbal persecution. They say like he is a magician, sahib, and then also physical persecution. They tortured the Holy Prophet, they tortured the family of the Holy Prophet, they tortured the companions and those followers of the Holy Prophet at that time in the holy city of Mecca. To such stage, then they made a social boycott of the Holy Prophet, not only alone him, but all the people associated with him, mean his followers. We call it Sahaba Ikram, mean the companions of the Holy Prophet. May God be pleased with them. Those, together with those companions, they took a refuge in the Canaan of Bani Hashim. This is the name actually of that place that is in between the two mountains, a narrow place inside. And then he took refuge, a place a bit far from the city, and then they took refuge there. Without food, without any kind of train, they just faced a lot of difficulties, and they spent 3 long years in that place. Because those chiefs of the crash, of those non-believers, their heads, they just made a social boycott of the Holy Prophet along with the companions. So what I have explained here, Tawasid is sub, it's not only just to say from the mouth the word patience. It's very easy. But what actually it is? To say, okay, this is word fire. You cannot have the feeling of the word fire unless you touch the fire. When you touch the fire, you will feel what it has the effect on your life. So the Holy Prophet, practically, in his life, he faced all these difficulties. And then, in the street of Taif, the Holy Prophet went there to convey the message of God, the message of Allah. Then the head of that place, a valley near Mecca called Taif, that's the name of the valley. And then he made some naughty kind of boys, mischief boys, and then they throw stones on the Holy Prophet to such extent that the heels and the shoes of the Holy Prophet, they all, full with blood. And then the angel came, and then he said that if you allow me, that I could destroy this whole valley. Then the Holy Prophet said, they might not understand me. Maybe their offsprings, they will know this message. No destruction, don't destroy this valley. Because they don't know me, who am I, what I am conveying the message to them. Maybe their offspring, in their generation, there might be somebody who will understand this message, and then they will accept Islam. And for your kind information, when the Islam spread over the world, and from that place, this Taif, the tribe was called Bani Saqif. That was the name of the tribe, and that Islamic hero that we know as Muhammad bin Qasim. Then he spread the message of Islam, and then he came to the part in Sindh, in Pakistan, a province called Debar, and then he came to that place of the continent, and then this prediction of the Holy Prophet came true that from the same tribe, a ruler came to that place. And then the lives and the relatives of the Prophet and his beloved ones, there are so many examples that you can see, but I just give you one example from this. There is one woman who was one of those women who just embraced Islam in the early stage. His name was Sumayya. Hazrat Sumayya, may God be pleased with her, when he accepted and he embraced this message of Islam, then the head of the Quraysh, those non-believers, what he did, when you hear and I read the story, you might, shocked, and to such extent. He put there are two, hands and 2 legs. They tie it with a rope, and then 4 camels tie up with his whole body. And then these 2 camels this side and these 2 camels this side, mean opposite directions. And then they run away. The whole body, you see what would be the condition of the poor. To such extent they have to face the persecution, physical persecution. And then there is one slave called Sayyidina Bilal. He was the follower of the Holy Prophet. He was slave to somebody because at that time slavery existed. And then what his master does with him, he asked him to lie on the sand in the summer hot weather, and then he put the stone on his chest, on his body, and he asked him, don't say that there is no God in what he said, Ahad, Ahad, Ahad. He said, no, there is one God, there is one God, there is one God. I rather want to accept these kind of difficulties, but I wouldn't leave the belief that I have. So that's why I say, to say the word is difficult. Even you say in this society, live in this society, if you believe in something, it's actually very easy to say, because it just, you have to just give it just lip service. Very easy. How much energy you have to waste, how much energy you have to actually put, very simple. But to testify from this heart, that's why in Islam said, Iqrarum bil lisan wa tasdeequm bil qalb, from here. Then this is actually is the real message. And then finally, he made this whole, things that I have explained, faith, good deeds, exhortation to truth and exhortation to patience. He is actually the noble example that reflects all these postulates in his life. And at the last, he established a society, a state in Medina that was based on these principles. And then finally he returned back to his Lord, to his God, Allah, by fulfilling his duty. And finally he made the truth reign supreme. And then he returned to his divine Lord Allah. May the peace and blessings of Allah be showered on him and his companions. In short, the life of the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, embodies the divine religion Islam, the dominant force in the Arabian Peninsula. So what he conveyed the message, on the same message he established a state, meaning fulfill the message. And now, being the followers, and if we have a belief, then it's our duty to follow those lines, these basic message of Quran, according to that I told you, Imam Shafi, that if nothing has been revealed in this holy Quran, this surah will be sufficient for the whole mankind, for their guidance. Why? Because the whole message that is in the holy Quran, you can grasp from this. And it's a total reminder. And also by following the same tradition that the companions of the Holy Prophet used to do when they meet with each other, I just conclude my today's talk on this. Again, by reciting the surah, Al-Asr. Again, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wal asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Aqulu qawli hadha wastaghfirullah li wa lakum wa lisa'iril muslimin. Thanks for your empathetic listening and your patience. Yes, please. One by one.
The first one, can it be understood, for example, for this verse? You have وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. The word here, can we understand it as being something that tells us that you need to have first Iman, and then if you have Iman, then you have Amil Salihat. Then if you have Amil Salihat, you will have وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. And then if you have تَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, then you have وَوَّضَبْتُ. That's the first question.
If you mean if you have the first stage of faith, then it requires the second stage. You mean, is this necessary or not? This is the question?
No, the question is that if the iman, if you have iman, then you need it before you can do a salihat. Because if you, and then, and in fact it's a little bit like a
grace. One way.
The second question.
Can we go one by one?
I will forget the other question.
Okay.
The second question is about
Okay.
The second question is about Iman.
Okay.
ونعلم الإيمان درجات. What's the difference between Iman and Islam? And how is it like, for example, the verse قالت الأعراب آمن
ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم.
فكان مسألة الإسلام قبل
Salasa? Okay, then just two. Okay. For your first question, actually, I just want to explain as there is a Quranic principle of tafsir. Actually, he asked a very technical question. I just explain in a simple way. There is in Arabic we say يفسر القرآن بعضه بعضا, means one part of the Quran explains another part of the Quran. This is a technical rule. Then when we do the tafsir of the Quran, this applicable means maybe one part of the Quran, then another part of the Quran, it has the relation in between, and then it explains that what has been explained in another place. For this question, actually, I also want to say that even people might think that a righteous deeds is possible without a belief. The negation of this, even if you see, we can find in this ayah of the Holy Quran, and this is one of the longest verses of the Holy Quran. This is called ayah bir. It starts from this: ليس البر أن تولوا وجوهكم قبل المشرق والمغرب ولكن البر من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر والملائكة والكتاب والنبيين وآتى المال على حبه ذوي القربى واليتامى والمساكين وابن السبيل والصابرين في البأساء والضراء وحين البأس أولئك الذين صدقوا وأولئك هم المتقون. For those people who cannot understand Arabic, you just see the translation. If we see in this life that who is the righteous person, who is the virtuous person, you say he is very righteous person, he is a very God-fearing person. In Arabic we say muttaqi. Is it possible that somebody does the righteous deeds without the foundation of faith? The Quran actually negates this. This is a very bitter tablet to digest. This is a very bitter tablet to digest this concept that without a belief you do the righteous deeds. Here the Quran says, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبَلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. It is not no virtue that you turn your faces towards the east or the west. You see that when the Muslims they pray, they face to a certain direction during the prayer. Towards Qibla, that is in the holy city of Mecca. During the prayer, all the Muslims, wherever they are, in Hong Kong, China, Pakistan, India, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, wherever they are, they turn their faces to a certain direction that we are calling Qibla, in the holy city of God. And then it says that, is this here righteous person who just turned his face towards a certain direction? Quran says this is not the only virtue, but he laid down the foundation, a base, asas. Then it says from this. But virtue is that one should sincerely believe in Allah. If you see that I have just mentioned in the Surah Al-Asr, Al-Asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu. There only one word is mentioned, Iman. But here you will find the explanation of the belief. To believe in what? This is what I say, yufassirul Quranu ba'zuhu ba'zan. Means one part of the Quran at a certain place, it explains another part of the Quran. Here you see the explanation. It's like a seed, but when this seed grows up, and then it becomes like what? It like has the trunk, it has branches, it has flowers, and it's fruits. And then here explains what is faith. The one should sincerely believe in what? Allah, and the last day, and the angels, and the book, and the prophets. So the foundation of your virtue, of your good deeds, is based on the belief. The belief actually is the foundation of your actions and deeds. Why? This is as I mentioned before, this is a very bitter tablet to digest. You should put the belief in your foundation, and then your action should be according to that. You can have the reward in this life. You can have the reward in this life, but if you don't have a faith or belief, then you will have no reward in the life hereafter. Because the Holy Prophet, there is one saying of the Holy Prophet, I just explained this with the story from the life of the companions of the Holy Prophet. 3 peoples will be brought on the day of judgment, and those among those 3 people, they were 3 people. One is the knowledgeable person, another one is the martyr. Martyr means who has sacrificed his life in the way of Allah, we call it shaheed. And the third one is generously, mean we call it ghani in Arabic. So the scholar, the knowledgeable person, the martyr who has sacrificed his life in the way of Allah, and the third one who gave his wealth in the way of Allah. Allah will ask, I give you with this knowledge, what you have done with this knowledge. And he will say, I convey this knowledge to the people. Then Allah will respond on that, Kazabta, you tell lies. He said, how come? He said, you convey this message to the other people, not because of me, that the deen or the religion of God should be dominated for the sake of God, but you did it for the sake of fame or popularity. So the people will call you a scholar, a knowledgeable person. People have said this about you, that you are a very knowledgeable person in this world, and now you have no share in this life hereafter, and Allah will ask the angels to take this person on his nose, running on the floor, and then put him to the hellfire. And then the second person will be brought, that one, he who has a lot of wealth, Allah will ask him, I give you a lot of wealth. What you have done with this wealth and money? He will say, I give this money in the form of charity to the needy or the poor people. The God will say, Kazabta, you tell lies. No, you didn't give this money because to the poor people. Actually, you gave on the surface, apparently you gave this money, but in reality, you gave this money to the people, so the people will say about you that he gives a lot of help to the people, not for the sake of God, but to get the fame, to get the popularity. Maybe you have the media coverage. Maybe you become a philanthropist. That, oh, you give a lot of donations every year like this kind of amount. So the sincerity, the direction has changed, not for God. So the faith, you are not giving it to the needy or the poor people because it's Allah's commandment. No, just you give it for the fame or the popularity. And Allah will give the same orders to the angel, just send him to the hellfire. And the third and the last one is the martyr, the who has sacrificed his life in the way of Allah. Allah will ask, I have given you this strong physique, a very healthy body. What you done for my deen, for my religion? He said, up to that point, I sacrificed my life in your way. Allah will say, Kazabta, you are telling lies. Because you give this life, because the people will say that you are a very brave person, but not for conveying my message or for this domination of my religion. And same order, Allah will ask the angel to send him to the hell. So this story, and by this verse explanation of the Holy Quran, the foundation of your actions and belief must have a belief. Without belief, your actions may not. Maybe in this life, we don't say in this life you might have a reward, you might get the total reward in this, but we are talking about a true believer, because his success or failure depends upon not in this life. His success or failure criteria depends upon the life hereafter, that is eternal and forever, everlasting. That would be on the basis. Yes.
Actually, Dr. Anwar, Alhamdulillah, Allah gave him a lot of knowledge. He can explain one question in 1 hour explanation. May Allah give you more knowledge and more good reward, inshallah. Brother, I think the conclusion, if no basement, no base, we cannot build the building. So the Iman is the main base. And the other thing, I think, come later. So, inshallah, if other brother or sister want question, because we have only 10 minutes.
Yes, 10 minutes.
For so if you have any question,
ladies side,
and then inshallah doctor will give the answer. I request very short.
Okay, thank you.
What if a person give a promise but he cannot fulfill it? And here in one of the way you say that you say that
There is one of the saying of the Holy Prophet.
that if you give a promise, then you must and you didn't fulfill it, then you have no religion. But what if a person cannot fulfill the promise? because of certain. If a person give a promise and he cannot fulfill it because of certain.
That is actually explained in a hadith as a general rule. Means that there is two kind of levels. One is your man-to-man contact, a man-to-man relationship, and then man's relationship to the God. One promise we have made to the God, okay, that we are doing these kind of dogmas or the worship or the rituals. If we have a belief, then we have certain responsibilities we have to do according to our belief. This is our promise to the God. And one is promise in our day-to-day life. When you say come to this place at what certain time, if you might have some emergency, you may call and ask him, I may not come and read without, not any reason, you have a genuine reason. It's understandable. But it means that if you consciously, you do not fulfill your promise that you have made, then it's saying that the emphasis of the promise is that even during your job, you have some kind of agreement. It's not only verbal, agreement. Your certain duties, if you are not fulfilling your duties, then means you are not fulfilling the promise that you have made to the employer of that company. You understand? At that certain stage, even the Holy Prophet, there is another saying, Man rasha falaysa minna. When he who makes up the things, the good things and the bad things put together, and then he sells to the people without telling them that this is the good quality and this is the bad quality. The Holy Prophet said he is not among us. So this is the honesty in your business. And your commitment. One is your commitment to God, and one your commitment to your fellows, your friends. Means you have to be conscious that what promise you have made, then you have to fulfill. But if due to certain reasons, due to some emergency, something, you may inform him or her that I am late because of this and that. It's understandable.
The Shahada is a kind of promise.
Yes.
When we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan rasulullah, this is a kind of promise.
That's why I said, no, one is man to man, and one is a pledge or your commitment to the God. If you say La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, it's a commitment, it's a promise. Because one we promise have made, that is explained in another hadith, before even coming to this world, we have made a promise. When the God asks, at that time we have all made a promise. At that time Allah asks, Alastu birabbikum? Am I not your God? At that time we, all our souls have made a promise, have made a pledge to the God. Kalu bala. At that time all the souls, they have made a promise. Yes, you are our God. So some people's level of understanding of their conscious, of their consciousness is to such level that they still remember that promise that they have made on that day before coming to this world. And once you have a belief, it means this is your promise that you have made to your God, that I fulfill these duties. Any chance?
I'm thinking about the example you just gave us about the three people who can't have a good afterlife, who get punished by the God. If people like them, who did a lot of good things in this life, but without any faith, should be punished. So what about those people who never do good things, but he believe God?
They also be punished because
That's a very good question.
yeah, that's a very good question. This is in Arabic and English we call it actually makus, and in English you can understand converse preposition. Converse preposition means if you have the patience in your life, of course then you have say something to some people, convey the message, of course then you have to face the patience. If you patience, the state comes when you do good actions. And when you do good actions means on the basement, on the foundation you have a belief. For those people, they will also be punished. Those who just verbal. As I explained, the two levels of faith. One is ikrarun bil lisan. Just utter the words from your mouth is very simple, very easy. It's just like a lip service. How much energy you have to spend actually? Nothing. But your actions should be reflect what you have say in the words. It should reflect in your behavior, in your conduct, in your actions. Those people who just say but don't have, they will also be punished. They have to reflect their lives according to their belief. That is why I use word in whole of my be a man of principle. Means you have to be a man of principle, means what you say you follow according to that. But during this process, if you might have some kind of weakness, some kind of shortcomings, it's human nature, and then you repent to God that Allah forgive you, and Allah will forgive you once you surrender that I have committed something. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna min al-khasirin. Means if we have done something wrong in our lives, then you first say that you admit this, that I have done this, and then you ask forgiveness, and Allah will forgive you. And the word for this forgiveness in Arabic is used tawbah, and taba yutubu tawbah in Arabic means then it's compulsory for God to forgive you. The word Allah in Arabic, when we put together in the Quran, that means it's not only okay you ask for forgiveness, no, Allah will certainly forgive you. Because He don't want to give the punishment when you admit or surrender before Him that you have made a mistake. And then Allah, to that level, Allah will change your these sins with the virtues, with the goodness. So you see the difference? All your wrongdoings will change with the virtue, with the goodness. If you sincerely, from the bottom of your heart, you ask for forgiveness.
For the conclusion, just whatever you do, try to do for the sake of Allah. Sake of
Sincerity,
God.
yeah.
For the sake of God.
One example for this sincerity you might understand. If a person, if he goes to the mosque, person was going for prayer, at that time no electricity, no this high-tech technology, something like that. People were used horses for travel. And then one person, actually during the daytime, he see that some people came for performing the prayer, but he had the horse as a way of the journey to travel on, but he has no place so that he can tie up the rope of his horse somewhere, fix it, and then with comfortable, and ease, he can pray and go inside the mosque. For the easiness or the convenience of the people, he stuck a peg, wooden peg, peg, P-E-G, peg. He stuck a wooden peg in the earth so that the people come, they tie up their horses there, rope, and then with easiness they go inside the mosque, pray, and after that they untie their rope and then they continue their journey. Another persons come during the night, the last prayer of the day, we call Salatul Ishr, and after performing the prayer, he just comes out, and on the way he say on the outdoor, in front of the door in the mosque, he said there is a peg, dark outside, and somebody he thought might struck against this peg, and then he fell down and hurt himself. So it's not good. So to make the comfort for the other people, he just take out this peg from the earth and then throw it away. This incident was brought to reported to the Prophet Muhammad. Who will get the reward? The Holy Prophet said both of them will get the reward. The actions are different, but the intention behind is same. The first one, he who put the peg in front of the door mosque, the intention was a sincerity based, because to give the ease or comfort to somebody who comes to pray here, so that he can tie up his animal outside the door. He should not worry about that my animal will fled away. And then he always might think about the horse and the animal, and then he cannot have the concentration and the focus in the prayer for his comfort. Good intention. Another one did the opposite action. He struck out the peg from the earth, but the intention was still there. Good intention was also what? To give the comfort and the convenience of the people. Good intention. If you, on contrary to that, if you make this example inverse, opposite.